Well, good afternoon, class of 2027. And family and friends of class of 2027, how is everyone today? Well, I hope you were able to stay dry. We made a last-minute call to move this indoors, and I think that was the right decision. Weather's not ideal, but no matter. We are not going to let it dampen our spirits on this most auspicious of moments. Is that right, class of 2027? So look, I am absolutely thrilled to be here sharing this much anticipated day with all of you, joined by your family, friends, loved ones, and supporters. You've worked incredibly hard to be here, to experience this milestone moment, your entrance into the profession of medicine. To our MD'27 class, I suspect that you find yourself sensing a moment of exhilaration, perhaps coupled with some anxiety. It's important to acknowledge that. Change, new experiences evoke such feelings. It's normal. But this is what we do. We learn, we grow, we challenge ourselves to make an even greater impact through our work in the health of individuals and the communities we serve. I will also say that if you were accepted into this medical school, I can assure you, you are prepared for anything that you will face. In fact, and now, I'm not sure how I'm gonna do this, but this is meant just for the class of 2027, because I know you guys can hold a secret. What I'm gonna tell you, your friends and family are gonna be so proud they may not be able to hold this as a secret. So this is just for you, so just lean in a little bit, and I'm gonna whisper. Dean Starr Hampton, who's there, wave Star, she leads education for our family and friends. Dean Hampton and I spent all of last week studying this class, everything that you had accomplished. And we have concluded, yes, this is the best medical school class ever. And please know, look, things happen. Please know we're here to help you. And I know this is also very important to your family and friends. We have incredible senior leaders who are committed to your success. Dean Hampton, who I mentioned already, an OBGYN surgeon, is our leader in education. Dr. Patricia Poitevin, a pediatrician, is focused on issues of belonging, equity, inclusivity, and diversity. And Dr. Kelly Holder, a clinical psychologist, is leading our wellness efforts. They are all, along with their entire leadership team, here to help and support you in any way that you will need. Now let's reflect a little bit on everything that has transpired to get you to this moment in your educational journeys and career in medicine. I am certain that your journey to medical school and the experiences you have lived already have proven your steadfast determination and resilience, qualities that you will draw upon throughout your careers. This is important because medical school and doctoring, it's not the path of least resistance. The long hours, grueling coursework, and as you will learn, demanding clinical experiences can be intellectually, physically, and emotionally draining. That said, we choose this as our calling. Paraphrasing President Kennedy a few years ago, not because it is easy, but because it is hard. It is hard, and it is important. It is a way to contribute to the world, to make the world a better place, one person at a time. It is both a great privilege and a great responsibility that you hold now. But also recognize, for those of us that are a few years ahead of you, it's immensely rewarding. Through all your work, sacrifices, achievements, you have prepared for crucial careers dedicated to the art and science of healing and to advancing the human condition by seeing each patient holistically and promoting the physical and emotional health and wellness. You will have ample opportunities to express this, be it through showing compassion during a routine exam, the excellence required in every procedure, or the curiosity that fuels findings to help cure ailments that remain unmet challenges. While your path today has been challenging, you have also benefited from the support of your family, friends, mentors, and over the years, each other. Today is a day to acknowledge the sacrifices you and others have made to get here and to celebrate both your individual achievements and collective achievements as the class of 2027. So I'm going to ask the class of 2027 to stand. I know you have your white coats. Be careful. I know they're folded very carefully, but I'd like you to stand, turn around, and just take a moment to look at your advocates who have and will continue to support you on this path. Your parents, grandparents, significant others, siblings, friends, mentors, and faculty. How about a big round of applause for all your supporters? All right, please be seated. So class of 2027, take pride in the fact that this rite of passage into the medical profession that you are experiencing today is now indelibly part of this remarkable medical school's history. Congratulations on reaching this fabulous milestone. You are more than ready for whatever may await you. And now, it is my pleasure to invite Blair Big, MD Class 24 candidate, to offer this year's student reflections. Blair was selected by her fellow classmates as the student who most personifies the white coat. Blair.
Thank you, Dean Jane. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon to Dean Jane, to the medical faculty who are here, alumni, parents, friends, members of class of 2027. I feel very honored to be speaking in front of you all today. Also a little nervous, so bear with me. But congratulations, class of 2027, on making it to this milestone event. I'm so excited to welcome you here and to invite you to join this community of current and past students, physicians, teachers, and mentors. All of us are happy to have you here. Welcome also to the family and friends who are taking time away from their own busy lives to be here and to shower you all with well-deserved love and pride. The theme of my remarks today will be on this idea of community and togetherness. And so before I delve into the meat of my talk this morning, I want us all to take a quiet moment to conjure up in our minds the beloved people, places, pets, and moments that have gotten all of you here today. Many of those people might be physically sitting here in this room with you, but many of them might just be in your hearts. And I want us all to just be still for a moment to feel the presence of all those beloved bodies that are part of us now and a part of this moment. So please just take a quiet moment to reflect first. Okay, let's go on. So due to the pandemic, my class had a delayed white coat ceremony, and it's only been a year and a half since I was sitting where all of you are now. Since I was in that seat, I've completed clerkships and sub-internships, decided on a specialty, and nearly submitted my residency applications. And although I've collected new knowledge and experiences along the way, I seem to only generate more questions the further along I go. And so selfishly, when I was invited to give these remarks to all of you today, I decided I wanted to spend this time collectively musing on a question which has been with me since the start of medical school, and that only seems to gain more importance the further along I go. The question is this: in a world and in a healthcare system in which we're increasingly pulled away from each other, often physically distanced from our closest friends and family, pulled away from patients and into the growing tasks of charting and administrative work, how do we learn to take care and to nourish both ourselves and others at the same time? This question is of personal interest to me because I started medical school at a time of great personal loss, in a period where I felt particularly isolated and my heart felt particularly tender. My beloved mom had died the year before starting medical school, and the pandemic had begun several months prior. I came into med school feeling alienated both from myself and from the people around me, and the person I was prior to my mom's death. My interactions with classmates and teachers were confined primarily to a computer screen, and my first interactions with the broader Providence community took place behind the safety and barrier of a mask. I became preoccupied with this question of how I could begin this journey where I was going to be tasked with caring for others, when I felt that I was barely taking care of myself. I think this question will also be of great interest to all of you too, because everyone in this room has known or will know what it feels like to be hurt and let down by the world. You have known or will know the immensity of loss, the precarious balancing act of caring for oneself while fulfilling the needs of others, and we've all recently emerged from the global cataclysm that was the COVID-19 pandemic, a moment in which we were forced to confront the ways that we're all connected to one another, and what can happen both when we choose to take care of those connections, and also the destruction that can come when we choose to ignore them. In addition, I think all parts of medicine, the guidelines, the long discussions on morning rounds, the research papers, the careful ceremony of scrubbing in before a procedure, all of these things can be distilled down into one big collective and ongoing experiment in how we can best take care for one another. One of the things that I love the most about medicine is that, at its best, it lays bare our need for one another. Humans are inherently social animals, and you cannot be in this career for more than a day without seeing the myriad ways in which we heal, help, nourish, hurt, neglect, love, and care for one another. When you give yourselves the chance to step back and reflect, medicine can bring into stark contrast the ways in which no one's story is completely their own, but rather becomes weaved into one larger story of all the people and places we've ever interacted with, offering forth both a map of where we've been and where we're at now. Even in the short span of a year and a half since I started the clinical portion of my training, I've heard numerous stories from people that are now embedded into my own psyche and that have merged with my own, stories that I will carry forward with me in training and in my life. I think of the woman I met on my internal medicine clerkship, who shared with me that part of the reason her diabetes had gone uncontrolled long enough to lead her to needing dialysis was because for years she gave her insulin to her partner who could not afford it for himself. I also think of the man I met on my first sub-internship who left against medical advice prior to getting an esophageal stent placed to relieve the obstruction caused by a mass in his esophagus because he was so worried about his girlfriend who had bipolar disorder and was living unhoused on the streets, and for whom he was the primary caretaker. I think back to my pediatric oncology rotation of all the parents who never left their kids' bedsides while they navigated new diagnoses, terrible side effects, the chasm of unimaginable loss opening before their eyes. The stories of each of these patients are now part of my own, a reminder of how indebted all of us are to one another. These particular stories have also served to remind me of the ways in which we humans need each other now more than ever, in a time in which we're increasingly told to believe that we're caught in a zero-sum game with each other and with the earth, where we feel our options are either to take part in this game or to protect ourselves by turning a blind eye and cultivating a cool demeanor of denial. What I've come to realize through my own navigation of loss during med school these last few years is that choosing to turn away from the hurt of others in order to protect ourselves is only a road to more hurt. Instead, when we choose to not only bear witness, but also to step into the wilderness of someone else's life, even for a moment, we also find a way forward for ourselves. This is a gift that a career in medicine will give, a gift that will continue to unfold for you over the years. When I think of the grief and the alienation that I felt at times for the last few years, grief at the loss of my mother, at the loss of beloved places to rising seas and wildfires, grief at the death of patients, at the physical distance between me and so many of my friends and family during the pandemic. I think of a kind of doubleness, a mutuality between the hurt and the isolation that I felt, and all the stories that have pulled me through to see another day. The stories of patients, of friends, of community. What emerges from this mutuality is a deep-seated joy, a joy that we're all alive here together and taking this commitment to care for one another. Although the actual white coat is something that fewer and fewer physicians are donning on a regular basis, I think the white coat can serve as a sort of metaphor for our role in medicine. For me, the metaphorical pockets of the white coat are the pockets in which I've stored and will continue to store the hurts, the hopes, the questions, and the stories of all the people I've met along this journey. As I move forward through this career and through my life, I can pick these stories out of my pockets from time to time, look at them from different angles, and remind myself during those moments when I feel the most alone that I'm a collection of all the people and the places I've ever had the privilege to care for and the people who've cared for me. I can use these stories to remind myself that taking care of others is actually the same thing as taking care of yourself. And what I hope to leave you all with today is the idea that the present cannot and should not be borne alone. That the hurt of others is also ours to bear, just as others will help us bear our own. Donning the white coat is a constant reminder of this commitment, both a responsibility and the greatest possible gift imaginable. The reminder that, in the words of poet Gwendolyn Brooks, we are each other's harvest, we are each other's business, we are each other's magnitude and bond. I know that every one of you in this room will carry forth that responsibility with grace. Congratulations, class of 2027. I can't wait to hear about the stories that fill your pockets along the way. Thank you all. So next, please join me in welcoming Meenakshi Rana, a graduate of the Brown class of 2000 and the MD class of 2004. Dr. Rana is a director of transplant infectious disease at Mount Sinai Health System, an associate professor of medicine and infectious disease at the Icahn School of Medicine. Dr. Rana will present the annual Charles O. Cook, MD Distinguished Visiting Lecture.
Good afternoon, Dean Jane, medical faculty, alumni, parents, guests, and the class of 2027. It is a true honor to be here with you today at the 25th annual ceremony of commitment to medicine. And it is wonderful to be home, even on a rainy day like this. I'm happy to be here, to be back at Brown in Providence. I started here as an undergraduate. For those of you who know Eastside Pockets on Thayer Street, yes, I see a couple nods, yes. That opened after I had started here, so that dates me a little bit. And when I went to medical school here, it was still a building right around the corner from here. So we spent a lot of time eating lunch at Eastside Pockets. That building doesn't look like it's changed much, actually, although it is wonderful to see how much the Warren Alpert Medical School has grown with all of you and with its own beautiful new building. But now, let's get down to business. We are all gathered here together today to honor your commitment to the calling and heart of this profession we call medicine. So I'm going to start today as I often start when I'm teaching medical students, and that is with the story of a patient. The consult was for leukocytosis. That's the fancy medical term for an elevated white blood cell count. My fellow proceeded to tell me about our new consult. It was a 27-year-old with alcoholic hepatitis who had been transferred to our hospital for a possible liver transplant. But the white count was 55,000, and the team needed to know if there was an infection. As the fellow presented the case about the transfer, we spent at least 15 minutes attempting to comb through records in the outside chart, debating about what tests to order that would perhaps help elucidate the supposed infectious or non-infectious etiology of the mysterious white count. "I'm not sure," the fellow told me. We subsequently walked over to the patient room. As soon as I saw the young man lying in the hospital bed, I knew something was wrong. Everything I had read on the computer screen, it disappeared from my mind. Instead, I focused on the very young man in front of me, clearly too young to be lying in the hospital bed. I said, "Hello," and he responded appropriately. Well, that eliminated the possibility of an infection in the brain. I stopped, I observed, and I looked. I saw eyes an intense bright yellow, indicating jaundice, a mask placed on his nose to deliver high levels of oxygen, his abdomen grossly distended with fluid, and he groaned in pain as I examined him. All of a sudden, it was clear to me what to do next. All the potential places a white count of 55,000 could be hiding lit up in my mind. In the lungs, as a pneumonia behind the fluid. In the abdomen, as an infection in the ascites or fluid in his peritoneum. As they often say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I find that is especially true in medicine. I was wearing my white coat that day. Not the same white coat that you are getting today. For one, of course, mine is longer than the student white coat. But what I want you to remember about that is that no patient will recognize that you are a student, a resident, a fellow, or an attending. They will only know that you are their doctor once you put that white coat on. For the white coat represents something incredibly important. Once you put it on, you gain the incredible privilege to listen, to touch, to examine, and to heal a patient. You gain not only an incredible responsibility, but also the trust of your patient, a trust to keep their stories, their secrets, their pain, their hopes, and their fears. As I prepared my remarks for today, I thought more about my white coat and what it means to me. I looked over at it, and for one thing, my white coat, it's not as white as it once used to be when I was sitting in your shoes over 20 years ago at my own white coat ceremony here at the Warren Alpert Medical School. For the outside of my white coat now carries stains. Well, there was the time that pen leaked in my front white pocket. That's happened more than once. The time some mysterious gook fell from the New York City emergency room ceiling onto my white coat. That did not come out no matter how many times I washed it and how much bleach I used. But just perhaps those stains were not meant to be removed. Perhaps they were meant to stay, to remind me of all the patients I have met, the ones who I have taught, and the ones who have taught me, the ones who celebrated with me after I had my daughter, and the ones who I mourned when I lost. Perhaps they remind me of the days and nights spent at the bedside, pondering over the diagnosis, going over the differential over and over and over again. Over the last 20 years, perhaps the outside of my white coat represents all that I have felt, borne, accomplished, a metaphor for what is on the inside. And of course, now I know to make sure my pen is capped tight before I put it in my pocket. And I know to look where I'm stepping before I walk into the New York City emergency rooms. In my white coat, I always carry the same few things. For one, the right pocket always has a stethoscope. I saw a few of those today in your guys' white coats. I was raised in a family where my dad is a cardiologist, and the stethoscope was an important tool to him. But as an infectious diseases doctor, the stethoscope represents something different to me. Similar to the stains on my coat, it too serves as a reminder. It is a tool that connects me with the patient. In 2023, it is unfortunately easy to practice much of medicine behind a computer screen rather than with a patient. When I walk into a patient room, I am sometimes asked, well, didn't you read my chart? I often explain to my patient that I am hoping to hear directly from them. To sit with your patient, observe as they talk, listen to what they have to say. It conveys more about their medical and social history than reading a computer screen ever can. Just as the patient story I described to you at the beginning of this talk, I find that my well laid out plans from reading a computer screen often change after I walk into a room and see the patient. Abraham Verghese, a well-known infectious disease physician and writer, talks about the patient in the computer screen as the I patient. For the patient in the computer screen can never be the same as the patient in the room, the patient we need to speak to and examine. Abraham Verghese writes in his essay, The Importance of Being, that, quote, I would examine them because that was what I knew to do, and that ritual, with its laying on of hands, conveyed an important message to the patient, that they would not be abandoned. The patient's disease is not located on an image in the computer, nor on a histology slide, nor in numbers of body chemicals. It is located in or on their body. To touch the place that hurts, to examine the body, is to affirm the locus of their illness, end quote. It is the white coat that allows me the privilege to lay my hands on the patient, to place that stethoscope to the chest, to help ease me into the ritual that we have as physicians, to listen, to touch, to examine, and to be with the patient, the importance of which is critical in medicine. In our generation of widespread physician burnout, in the era of digital apps and telemedicine, I carry Dr. Verghese's words in my heart, that to simply be with your patient, perhaps hold their hand and listen to their story, that is the only lesson we truly need to remember from medical school. What else do I usually carry in the pocket of my white coat? Well, these days, there is always a mask. The masks take me back to March of 2020, when as an infectious diseases doctor, my world in New York City turned upside down. Before March of 2020, not too many people knew what an infectious diseases doctor did. Then everyone heard Dr. Fauci speak, and all of a sudden, everybody knew who an infectious diseases doctor was. The masks symbolize a time for me and my colleagues of intense emotion, feelings, fear. I remember walking into my New York City hospital, now turned into a war zone, temporary walls put up to hold patients, where the Starbucks once stood in the lobby. A time when I did not hug my daughter and son, and I remained quarantined in a bedroom for 3 months. They symbolize a time when all of a sudden I was considered an expert. But I would often ask myself, how can you be an expert in a disease you had never seen? For me, the mask most of all symbolizes a time of lessons learned from a pandemic. A time when Americans lost faith in the white coat and what it stood for. This was for me the greatest lesson of the COVID-19 pandemic, that it was okay to say, I don't know, I am not an expert. To never be so arrogant as to believe that you knew more than the provider standing next to you or the patient standing in front of you. The mask in my pocket is therefore there not only to wear in my interactions with patients, but to remind me of lessons learned from the pandemic and the importance of maintaining trust in the physician-patient relationship. As I stand here today, I feel incredibly blessed, honored, and privileged, because as I look out at all of you, the class of 2027, the world feels incredibly bright. You are an incredible class, and from what I hear, an amazing group of diverse individuals representing 52 colleges, 28 states, and 18 different countries. And you will all bring your own light and passion to medicine. Today, I have shared with you what the white coat means to me. To me, it all comes back to the connection we have with our patient. For example, my patient with the high white coat, whose infection we ultimately found. Over the next 4 years, there is no better place for you to learn how to form that connection than here at the Warren Alpert Medical School. And over those years to come, the white coat will also begin to mean different things to you, perhaps at different times. But just for today, as you put on your white coat, be thankful for the journey that has brought you to this place and the people who have supported you on the way. Remember to lean on them in times of need as you walk this path. Be thankful for the Brown medical community here at the Warren Alpert Medical School, your home away from home, for the next 4 years that will ultimately support you and keep you grounded. The memories and friendships you form here, they will last you a lifetime. And lastly, I hope you will thank your teachers, your friends, and your family, as I thank mine, for being on this incredible journey with me. Congratulations, class of 2027.
Thank you, Dr. Rana. And I have to say it too. Congratulations to the Warren Alpert Medical School class of 2027. So, before I get to my scripted comments, and I'm sorry, Diana and Kaylee, I gotta say just a couple things. Congratulations. You know why your white coats are white? Yeah, it represents health and sterility and, all that stuff, cleanliness. It's actually one of the primary colors of my favorite Premier League soccer team, Tottenham Hotspur. Any Spurs fans out there? Perfect. Big match tomorrow against Arsenal. Any Arsenal fans? The exit is to the back and the right. The door is already open. Please exit quietly. I'm just kidding. So let me get to my comments now. As current president of the Brown Medical Alumni Association, better known as the BMAA, it is my distinct honor to welcome all of you. You're all now part of our history and our future. The BMAA comprises all alumni of the Warren Alpert Medical School, and of course, the medical school under all its previous names, there were several, as well as undergraduate alumni of Brown who earned their medical degrees elsewhere, residents, fellows, and faculty members and house staff of the medical school. The mission of the BMAA is to connect medical alumni to the greater Brown community by 1, sponsoring, networking, and medical community events, 2, hosting students as they travel for residency interviews, which you all will do, and welcome to stay at my house one at a time, coaching and mentoring students, supporting the Brown Medical Annual Fund and providing seed grants for medical student interest groups, supporting Dean Jane and medical school leadership and strategic planning efforts. And actually, that's it. The BMAA is the organization that ties all medical alumni together and provides a lifetime network of colleagues that you can tap into for personal or professional advice. And for all of you receiving a white coat today, that relationship begins now. Donning the white coat represents a turning point in your education and your career. For most of you, your education has not included care of patients up to this point, but as you move forward, you'll now have the lives of your patients in your hands. The white coat is a symbol to the world of this transition in your life. Welcome to a truly noble profession. We will now recognize each student by calling their name for the presentation of coats by Dean Mukesh Jain. To kick it off, Kimberly Amelsberg. Rhoda and Michael. McGuire and Azuski. Jonathan Arditi. Akash Aurora. Amy Arthur. Agata Ataide. Teniola Ayeni. Jiwon Michelle Bay. Anisha Bhakta. Anthony Barisano. Maria Chiara Balomo. Bianca Bergsnyder. Angelo Blancaflor. Kelsey Bogdan. Courtney Bowen. Michael Brennan. Valeria Brown. Caden Bunch. Dylan Bush. Christopher Carrera. Christopher Chang. Aaron Chang. Andrew Chen. Zishui Zach Cho. Cincha Collins. Olive Cooper. Austin Coppinger. Nicole Dagan. Darren Denai. Hari Dandapani. Abel da Verona Cosero. Joseph de la Merced. Bintu Jara. Ernest Dimbo. Rose Engler. Samuel Escobar. Ariana Fang. Elise Foreman. Abby Frankel. Gabriela Garcia. Christopher George. Victoria Gill. Gabi Gonzalez. Madeline Guzman. Fiona Griffin. Parker Haddock. Marie Hamill. Rachel Heilbrunner. Nicole Hines. Katarina Ho. Megan Huang. Sam Hochberger. Caitlin Holmes. Lawrence Huang. Joseph Inger. Piper Ireland. Timmy Jeng. Nicolette John. Matthew Kaczynski. Jacob Kaiserman. Rajiv Kant. Evan Keating. Charles Keys McKay. Omara Khan. Serena Kemchandani. Erica Keem. Aline Kim. Ellie Kim. Grace June Kim. Nathaniel Kim. Ashley Knable. Giovanni Kozel. Morgan Cruzan. Jenna Kwon. Alexandra Lee. Matthew Lee. Catherine Leek. Jean-Luc Lewis. Anwen Lin. Claire Lin. Michelle Mai. Ali Mansour. Rishik Manthana. Carolyn Marquis. Nikita Maryanov. Mariel Mawad. William Maleben. Brady McAllister. Imani McGregor. Lauren McNeil. Allison Myers. Felisa Michael. Madison Michaels. Carla Monge Salame. John Michael Murphy. Emily Neal. Tiffany Neto. Mian Nguyen. Justin Nidoy. Claire Nimura. Celeste Subai. Joseph Oldham. Ege Gwengor Onal. Daniela Pahari. Krithi Pai. Saba Paracha. Chase Penholerick. Nicholas Patron. John Petro. Claire Pisani. Jasmine Powell. Justin Ree. Caroline Reisner. Allegra Rollo. Mark Romero. Mark Rosenberg. Derek Schneider. Asghar Shah. Mary Elizabeth Simkevich. Maxine Slater. Vinisubu Somasundaram. Elizabeth Song. Jorge Silca Flores. Mezen Taman. Nicole Tanda. Abigail Teshoma. Mary Denise Torriner. Miranda Triedman. Trang Chuang. Alexandra Turco. Amy Udebo. Sarah Uriarte. Chloe Vincent. Anne Wachina. Catherine Wainwright. Diana Wang. Brianna Watson. Sarah Wilworth. Eli Wolfgang. Joshua Wu. Timothy Winter. And last but not least, Kiana Zahiri. Excellent job, Dean Jane. That was amazing. I wish you could have heard all the comments he was making up here. Stoop down a little bit, you know, and anyway, congratulations to the Warren Alpert Medical School Class of 2027. I want to thank everyone for their participation in this white coat ceremony, and I also want to recognize the family and friends who are here today and those joining on the live stream. Your love and support are an important part of today's celebration. This concludes the ceremony. We invite those of you who are here today to join us at the back of the room for food and refreshments. Congratulations.